We are back, everybody, man. Welcome into the Blue Bloods. I told you guys, listen, man, we're going to have a streak of live shows here throughout the off season that is going to rival just about anybody out in this space. Man, we're talking about 2 or 3 times a week coming to you guys with mailbags. We still got Coach's Corner on the way, still got the Coach's Lounge reviews, and myself, Timothy, and Gerald got a bunch of content coming on the website as well, man. So we're going to be attacking this on all fronts throughout the off season. Shout out to everybody who submitted questions. I didn't even have to ask for questions this week, Coach, because we had so many we didn't even get to last week. And
Bring
the
them
goal,
on.
guys,
Bring them
yeah,
on.
the goal, guys, is to keep this about 30 minutes each mailbag episode. Me and Coach went an hour last time. We did not stick to the time limit at all. You know how we both like to talk, and we got way too deep into one of the topics. But listen, if you have questions you want us to hit, whether they're off-season questions, whether they're FCS, general college football, whatever you guys want to talk about, put it in the live chat. Comment under this video if you're watching the replay, or send it to either one of us on social media handles below. The Blue Bloods handle is next to us. Submit your questions, and we're going to hit them over the next handful of weeks. And so make sure to submit those if there's a big topic that you want to address, talk about, or just even create discussion points on. And then the next episode, we're going to throw it back, man. I think Coach has waited his time enough. He's ready. It's the off season. Y'all can't get him fired. Hopefully during the off season, we're going to open up the call lines again on the next episode later this week. It'll be coming Thursday or Friday. We'll announce that at a later date. But Coach, man, how we feeling?
Man, feeling great, baby. Got out to some practices, some schools, in an what do you call it? God dang it. Cinco de Mayo was yesterday, so kind of tongue tied.
Yeah.
Uh, Undisclosed location, somewhere in the Middle East, recruiting players. And I say that I don't tell my location anymore as that because there's a lot of people that are recruiting. They're recruiting behind you. So to prove a point, I put an offer out there today. Uh, Kid was like, "Cool, thank you, coach. Thank you so much." He posted his offer at like 10:35. I have to go back and look on Twitter and show it to you. He posted his offer like 10:35, and by 12 o'clock, he had 3 new offers by no one who had been to the school. So yeah, I'm in an undisclosed location in the Middle East working.
Do you think, I don't want to get down it. We'll save it for another episode, because I know if I ask a question, we're not going to get to a topic till 30 minutes into the show. Let's go ahead and kick this one off. And this was a question that was asked last week, and I thought it was a really good one, man. Shout out to my guy, Sam Herder. He just dropped an article about this. Coach, we're going to talk FCS over FBS upsets. And we have a handful every year, some that we don't see coming, and we have some legendary ones. The App State over Michigan, North Dakota State knocking off Kansas State as a ranked team. Listen, Sac State last year beating Stanford was one of the most insane ones I've seen, man, just in terms of like the craziness
Absolutely
of that
crazy.
game. We
Yep.
got some really, really good candidates this year. I think we got some really, really good matchups for the FCS and some of these. Coach, is there any games to you right now? I know we're in May, so I'm not saying, Coach, write it in pen or is the upset happening, but are there any ones that you have circled as you could see this being a major FCS over FBS upset next year?
I don't know if you would call, and I don't want to, always seem one-sided, but us over Vandy, would that be major?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm trying.
yeah, no
I mean,
doubt, because they are
the
who they are.
it would be major. Not, yeah, listen, I don't think the name recognition of Vandy is the sticking point here. It's the fact that the conference hasn't beaten an FBS
Anybody.
school since 1985. So I think anybody in the SWAC, I don't care if it's the worst team at the FBS level, that's a huge win for the conference, right? And I mean,
Ain't no doubt about it. I'm
especially
trying to
because let's
pull it
just
up.
be honest, Vandy wasn't terrible last year at all, like throughout the whole season. I mean, they had some wins in conference at least. I'll throw one out to you, Coach, and this one to me, I know Sam agrees. I would say Timothy, if he's in the chat, agrees. People in the chat are going to agree when I say this. Montana State at New Mexico,
Oh, that's
week
doable.
0. I
That's
mean,
doable.
that might be a blowout in terms of the, like, that could be one of those games like a Sac State who did they beat that year? Colorado State, where they beat them like 41-10, or Idaho last year when they beat Nevada by double digits. I really, really do think Montana State over New Mexico is almost. I hate to say this, Coach, and I don't always say this. I said it about a few last year. This almost seems like if the FCS school doesn't get the win, it's a disappointment. Like
Yeah,
that
and
should be a guaranteed win almost.
I take that. And then, let me just get back to all seriousness. Not saying us, but I think that the one you just said, I think, in all honesty, and it's going to pain me to say, uh, uh, I think Jackson has a real opportunity to upset Monroe if their quarterback situation is what it needs to be. I definitely can see North Dakota State giving Colorado all they want.
We can have a
I can
conversation about that one. We really
I can
can't
see
because
that because there's going to be a feeling from one side because of something that happened when the other side was at a previous place. And I think you guys all know what I'm talking about. So there's going to
yeah,
be extra motivation in the building, even though the coaching staffs are different or whatever. But I'm sure the AD is kind of let the staff know and will let the kids know there'll be an extra Popeyes, a two-piece spicy before you get on the plane if we pull this one off. So I could definitely see that being one. Uh, you correct me if I'm wrong. Sac State has an opportunity,
yeah.
a real opportunity. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I had one other one. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? I was on the fence with the Lafayette just because Buffalo has a tendency to be decent in up and down years. Uh, where's the other one that I freaking had? Jackson, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it? Hold on, one sec, one sec.
You
Uh,
good, man? Take
no, I'm sticking to the facts here. Where is it? And it just kind of depends. It really just depends on what. And I don't correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I got you.
I mean, North Dakota, because Iowa State lost a lot in the transfer portal.
Mm.
And I know your feelings with North Dakota. They fool us. They look like world beaters, and they come back like the children of the blind could beat them. But I think with what was lost there, gives them a real opportunity. To be honest with you,
I didn't have
that's
that one. That's an out of the box one. And I think it's because, listen, I don't necessarily have a lot of stock in North Dakota next year. And
no.
also too, like I think Campbell's done such a good job at building that program at Iowa State because that's not an easy place to win or build a contender at the Power
Sure.
Five level. I think he's done a really good job. They got some talent coming back. I think Iowa State's going to be tough, especially because if you remember, Tennessee, the former North Dakota State offensive coordinator who went to Tennessee State is now at Iowa State. So there's going to be familiarity there with that team. And also, too, like Timothy said, North Dakota lost their entire offensive line of the portal or graduation. Like everybody's gone. That's just going to be a tough one. I had 5, Coach, and then I had 3 honorable mentions. You took one of my honorable mentions. I had the Montana State game. I had Fordham against Bowling Green on August
Ooh,
29th.
ooh.
That's that first Thursday night. I got 3 upsets in the first Thursday night of the season, August 29th. I got Fordham over Bowling Green. Coach, Fordham beat an FBS program 2 years ago, or no, beat an FBS program last year and was 1 play away from beating Ohio the year before. They returned their quarterback, CJ Montez, who's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They returned some players on defense. I think Fordham's got a really, really good chance of beating Bowling Green, who's not a very good program. I also like UT Martin over Kennesaw State. I feel like I'm cheating with this one, but Coach, Kennesaw State was terrible last year. They're now an FBS program. UT
I
Martin's
didn't,
won like
I'll give you that one, but I didn't. You're still in one there with the transition year. I get it, but I
I
mean,
will.
technically, you're right.
Yeah,
Technically,
I
you're
like
right.
that one. I like that one. I had Jackson over ULM. I think that's a really, really good matchup for Jackson, especially because it'll be a Thursday night game again. Week 1, new head coach for ULM, massive turnover in the portal. Jackson almost beat them, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yep.
That's one that I don't know if I would pick Jackson today, but would I be surprised if they won? No. I don't think that game's going to be a blowout, in my opinion, because I know what people are going to say. Last year, they got blown out by Texas State. ULM was not Texas State under GJ Kinney and the talent
Texas
that
State was so
Texas State
different.
brought in.
Yeah,
Texas State was a
Texas
really
State's
good program
different.
last year. Yeah. And I think NDSU Colorado would be on my list too. And Coach, I made an appearance on Bison 1660 today. Shout out to my guy Sam and all
Shout
them up
out.
in Fargo. And they asked me about this game, and would I go out on a limb and say that I'm guaranteeing an NDSU victory here? Not necessarily, because I do think Colorado is going to have a lot of offensive talent, but I will say if you built a team that stylistically doesn't match up well with Colorado, it would be a team that's built like North Dakota State, big and physical on the offensive line, runs the football, dual threat quarterbacks with an S, because we saw what Cole Payton could do with the ball in his hands, and a physical
Monster.
defensive line with a lot of experience coming back. And that linebacking core pretty much all returns for North Dakota State. So, and they
And we
got the
know about the
safety coming
turnover from
back.
Colorado.
Exactly. And Cole Wisniewski's back in the secondary, led the nation in interceptions last year at the FCS level. Here's what I think NDSU would have to do right now. You have to run the football, and you've got to win the time of possession by a significant margin, because the longer you can keep Shador and them on the sideline, the better
Oh,
chance you have.
if they get up, and can run the ball, and if Colorado has not fixed their uh, run woes, I know they got a pretty good coach in Warren Sapp, but Warren ain't playing no snaps.
No.
If they don't have anybody to stop that, and NDSU State gets up, it could turn into one of those Nebraska games of old where they just bleed you. It's like death of 1,000 paper cuts.
And
that's going to be one of the most watched games of the week.
The season. I think that's going to be one of Colorado's most watched games, because you know this, the history there where NDSU accused Prima ducking them, and then also
I wasn't going to say it.
Hey, and then also too, well, that happened on my show, so I can say it. It happened on the interview I did with Larson. But I will say, the one thing that concerns me, and I want to be fair with this, and not seem like I'm just being too biased toward NDSU. The thing that scares me with them is the secondary versus Shador and that wide receiving core, because the corner
they haven't protected. They got to protect it.
That's true.
And
now that is true.
You remember now that wasn't as solid, even versus the bad teams. They had problems in that protection situation, and and I know. Yeah, that's a whole nother show. I'm staying on topic. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, staying on topic. Now, honorable mentions. You mentioned one of mine. I had Sac State over San Jose State. Sac State's been on kind of a run with beating FBS programs. San Jose State's got a lot of holes, just lost some coaches, a lot of turnover there. I can see Sac State pulling that out, because I do think Sac State is going to be a dark horse in the Big Sky this year. I also had Central Arkansas over Arkansas State. Central Arkansas returns everybody pretty much from that team last year, who was probably
that could be a real track meet.
On paper, Central Arkansas that returns probably the most talent, like from on both sides of the football, that like they're in that conversation of who returns the most talent in the FCS. Like they've returned everybody. They didn't lose hardly anyone to the portal. And here's one I want to throw out to you, and then we'll move on, because as obviously we can't do an hour again. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. 29-game winning streak. The last FBS game South Dakota State played was against a top 25 Iowa team, and they lost by 1 point, 7-6.
I stayed away from that one because the Pokes always start out hot.
They lost to South Alabama last year.
Yeah, but that was, and South Alabama turned out to be a really, really underrated football team, if you remember. And I'm
Oh
not
yeah, they were.
saying that they aren't, but they usually start out really fast. Now, if this game was week 6-ish, I mean, no doubt they'd have an opportunity. They'd have a real opportunity. For whatever reason, Okie State, the Pokes, they always have that letdown middle somewhere. But in the beginning, they always start fast. They always start fast. So I kind of stayed away from that one.
Yeah, I'm not
But I see
picking
what you're
it.
saying, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm not picking it, but I will say this because Oklahoma State's probably going to be what, a top 20 team
At
in the
least.
country because they were in the Big 12 championship last year. They returned the Doak Walker Award winner at Ollie Gordon at running back. Now, I will say this. If South Dakota State pulls that one out and looks good doing it,
It's just a
bro,
matter of
I mean,
getting to the end.
just
That answers one of your other questions.
yeah, listen, just go ahead and all the South Dakota State fans out there, go ahead and buy your tickets and pay for it in cash. No refund. You don't need a refund. You're going to like, I don't think people understand how big of a win that would put them to 30 consecutive wins in a row. And the only team on their schedule that looks like they're even going to be competitive with them is North Dakota State potentially.
Someone else mentioned EWU at Nevada. Nevada's
That was
been down.
another one.
Nevada's been down, no doubt about it.
The only reason I didn't put that one, now I do agree historically EW's played well against those teams. It's just last year they were just atrocious defensively at times, and it's just that worries me a little bit. But EW has the offensive talent to hang with anybody. It's just, is that defense going to be good enough? And Lawrence, I named that one as one of my honorable mentions. I love Central Arkansas.
That could be a real
State.
track meet. That could be a real track meet because UCA can put up points. That could be a real track meet.
I like that.
That could be a 52-50 easy.
Yeah, I like it. I'm hoping to see double-digit upsets this year, Coach. And now I'm not necessarily going to predict that yet. I'll predict it closer to the season once we kind of get some of these rosters finalized. I will say if we can get anywhere from 8 to 12, I'll feel really, really good. I feel really good about that. 8 to 12 FCS over FBS upsets. Anything more is just like extra. That's like a bonus on your check.
Yeah, you want that. I just want competitiveness.
Agreed.
If we can keep those things from being boat races, you remember the old Budweiser speed boats? I can't even remember who they were racing against, but they always won these championships. Who else did they race against? Because I mean, they were the only ones that had the big sponsors. So I don't. So if we can keep the Budweiser racing boat from showing up to some of these games, I'll definitely be happy, man. Definitely be happy.
Now let's move on here. We were also asked which conference champion, like how many conference champions from last year will repeat this year. So, Coach,
Let's go.
Yeah, I got the winners here, and let me just say, let's put a scale on it. Let's just put a scale on it. Let's do 1 to 10. How confident are you that team could repeat? And the teams that you aren't confident on, do you have a reason, or is there someone in the conference that scares you a bit? Now, we'll start with the Big Sky.
10 being the best, 1 being the least,
10,
right?
10 being a lock, 1 being no chance they repeat.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So we got Montana, who won the Big Sky last year. Coach, how you feeling about how are you feeling about the Grizz repeating as Big Sky champs?
I got them at a 6 because they lost a lot, and we've talked about this several times on the show. If you don't have that trigger guy, that proven trigger man, that kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. And they lost their guy who led them to the Natty. Rather it was his show in the beginning or not, he took the majority of the snaps. So, and then they lost some pieces defensively that were really big for them. I got to give it better than a 50% chance because I hope people don't, but I know they will kick the ball to that man back there, and he's going to keep them in a lot of games.
I don't know why they would still kick it to him, but like you said, someone is going to kick to him and he's going to return it for a touchdown. It just makes no sense. I'm gonna go a little bit lower, and it's nothing that Montana did, but I think it's because teams behind them improved. And I'm gonna go a 5 here, just a little bit lower than you. 50% chance, I guess. But I think Montana State's always tough. Now I do worry about their passing game, but like you said,
Mm,
Montana is going to have to show that they can replace the quarterback as well. Now they got a really really talented freshman coming back that I'm excited about. They got the wide receiving core, but I want to see what they do on the interior of the defensive line. But the rest of that defense is there. Also, too, I really do like Sac State this year. Returning
mm.
quarterback, they got some talented wide receiver coming back. Defense has some. I wouldn't say game changers, but some proven talent coming back. I think Sac State in year 2 of Andy Thompson is going to be better than they were last year. And also, too, Timothy makes a good point. You still got Idaho there now. Defensively and offensive line wise, they're all back. But
But Idaho runs the same since they have the same. Remember, I'm a Idaho guy,
yeah,
and they lost two huge pieces. If they still have those guys, I think yeah, they are high. But again, they run into the same issue plus one because A Woods was an absolute man uh, running that rock for him.
yeah.
My bad, Timothy.
Yeah, hey, Timothy's riding for Idaho in the chat, man. So we'll see. We'll have to get him on. Well, once we do conference previews and Timothy joins us, he'll pull the curtain back and show everybody why. But Coach, Big South OVC had co-champs. We'll take these both. UT Martin Gardner Webb, shared the conference crown last year. I'll take this one. I don't want to always throw it on you. Gardner Webb's a 0.
They
UT
lost so
Martin's
much.
UT Martin's a 6, possibly 7 right now for me. I would say Gardner Webb, they lost the whole team. You lose Trey Lamb. I mean,
They
I
lost
don't
so
see I
much.
don't see Gardner Webb making a run at anything this year. Now, if they're above 500, that's amazing. But I
They're
don't
doing
think
a hell
they're
of
a
a job.
champion. Yeah, no way they're a championship program this year unless it is a miracle in that room. UT Martin, they have a lot that they lost a lot, coach, but they also have some proven talent that's coming back. And also, too, I like their additions out of the portal and on the high school recruiting trail. I think UT Martin is going to really, really be in contention. And, coach, anytime you have someone winning 3, 4 in a row in a conference, you always got to kind of give them the benefit of the
Hunter's
doubt to do it.
chance.
Now, the dark horses, Tennessee State, even though I'm less confident now that Terrell Allen's out the door, and also Eastern Illinois flipped it from like 1 win to 8 last year. Can they build on that? They return a whole lot of talent. Eastern Illinois could be a dark horse, and I would probably put them number 2 behind UT Martin right now with the opportunity to win the Big South OVC.
I could see that. Other than the TSU pick for you, uh, I think it was because of last year, man. I'm a I'm a picker scorn because I just knew they were going to get in, and then they did that to me at the end. And it's just like I can't trust it. And then you go back and look at the history, like, wait a minute, this wasn't the first time. This wasn't even the second time y'all done this. And so I can't go out there. It's going to be one of those deals of where they're going to have to act like I'm from Missouri, and they're going to have to show me uh, just because. And then Eastern, uh, I like that, but again, with such a quick flip from bottom to the top of it, you've got to show it. Even though the portal allows you now to be a one-hit wonder, it allows you to go from the cellar to the top really, really quick. It also can take you back down, and that's a whole nother show that we'll talk about. But we'll see.
Now, CAA had 3. So let's just hit these 3 because, I mean, Albany, I'm going to give them like a 2 at best, maybe a
Lost a
1. They
lot.
lost so
Lost a
much.
lot. Lost a lot.
Richmond, I'm gonna bump it up to probably 3 or 4. Villanova, I'm gonna give like a 6. I think Villanova is gonna be really good next year
They lost
still.
their key
And
though, didn't they?
Yeah, but they still got so much coming back, coach. Like especially defensive, weapon wise, they're gonna be loaded. And I just think like Timothy said, everything behind them is just chaos. You don't know what you Albany is going to be. Richmond lost everybody. I think the one dark horse potentially, Delaware, I
Mm,
don't really include them because they're in transition. Yeah, and Watkins is back, so the quarterback is back, as Timothy noted in the
okay.
chat. So they do return a signal caller. William and Mary is the interesting one. They return a bit now. John Pius and Nate Lynn are big losses, but they return a lot of other talent on that defense that they had. I think Villanova's up there, coach. I would probably go with Villanova like somewhere in that 7 range.
And I would go with that. And the only issue with William and Mary is to me, uh, they fall off in that Morgan boat. Man, you can't average 11 points a game in college football and try and expect to win games. It just doesn't work that way anymore. And if they haven't gotten that issue fixed, um, it's not gonna matter. It's gonna be the same thing like Morgan. You're gonna lose games 17-11. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
if they haven't gotten that, and again, it's so much gone in that conference, Delaware on the transition. Uh, you Albany lost everybody. You know, I'm with you on that deal. I would see that. I could go with that.
Ivy, listen, I'm not even really going to put a number on the Ivy. They got like 7 teams, and like 4 of them were co-champs last year. So, I mean, that's like half the conference. You had Harvard, Yale, and Dartmouth, and I think Princeton was like half a game behind, if I'm not mistaken. I,
It
I
was down
feel
to
pretty
the
sa-
end. Yeah,
I feel pretty safe that one of those teams is probably going to repeat. Like, it's just hard with like the MEAC and Ivy because it's like, bro, when you have people splitting championships, like it's kind of, it's a little, especially with like 3, 4 teams in a small conference. Coach, if I had to put money on it, I would lean. I could see Princeton being the only team to kind of sneak up on people, but I feel confident in Harvard still. I know they got a new coach.
I'm just saying
It's
Harvard.
still,
Harvard brings back some guys, but they also
yeah,
lost some. But that's an interesting conference just in itself. The more I
chaos.
learn, the more I learn the rules. That's an interesting conference in itself, man. So I
Yeah.
mean, ain't nothing but the dice game when you talk about that conference.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not putting any number. I don't know who's going to win that conference right now. Like, we'll move on. Now, an interesting one is the MEAC. Now, I know technically, Howard Central finished tied, but Howard is the winner because I got to go to the Celebration Bowl. I'm going to give Howard a 3 here. Not super confident that they're going to repeat. Now, running backs loaded. Secondary, still super talented. Tackle's a concern. Wide receivers, a little bit of a concern. Quarterback question mark is a major concern for me. And also, they got to replace a lot of pieces in that front 7. I'm gonna go 3 here, and I'm looking at Central, Morgan State, potentially South Carolina State if they have a breakout year with Barry catching somebody. I think the MEAC is really up for grabs in that top 3-ish to maybe 4 spot.
I I'm with you on the Howard. I'm not ready to get on the NCCU because of the quarterback change. I know what they're saying about this new guy, but until he does it with live bullets, I can't believe it. And Matt's my guy. Coach Oliver is my guy. But I can't ride with them. I want to say that I would give Morgan a better than 50% chance, but again, they cannot go into football games in 2024 and expect to win and only be able to score 12 points a game. I love what they do defensively. They ball. They get after you. But you can't lose games 7-6.
No.
And then you can't come back the next week and lose games 10-7. Um, I know Timothy said Sac State. SC State.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. First year. I mean, he's a proven coach, but I just don't think that first of all, his name is not going to allow him to sneak up on people. So nobody's going to sleepwalk on him. But I just don't know if he has the pieces yet. But if I had to give somebody in that conference better than a 50% chance, I want to give it to Morgan. but Morgan don't want me to give it to him because they only score 12 points a game. So I'm like you, man. That whole conference is just kind of ain't nothing but the dice game. We talk about that conference.
I'm with you. Now this one, we've kind of already talked about both these teams. The Valley here, South Dakota State won it obviously last year. Coach, what number are you putting on it? I mean, you picked them last week, or no, what was it? Yeah, last week, our last mailbag to win the national title. So what number are you putting on South Dakota State?
9.7. 9.7. 9.7. And you got to leave that little wiggle room just in case something happens. The quarterback's agent that's working for his NIL, that's going to be his representative when he turns pro, may tell him to shut it down after week 5. I don't know. So you got to leave it open at 9.7. Man, once your program has that feeling that they're going to win and they can't be beat, it's tough. And they're going to win, and you can write it down right now. They're going to win at least 3 games by just showing up. They're going to win 3 games. So I've got to give them a 9.7 opportunity, or saying they have a 9.7 opportunity to go ahead and repeat that deal.
I'm going to go a little lower.
Get with me now.
I'm going to go a little lower.
Get with me now.
I'm going to go like 7.5 to 8.
Oh, man, you're leaving room for somebody else.
North Dakota State. That's it. That's the only team I'm leaving the door open for.
I think it's in their head, though. I understand that's a proud program, but you haven't been close in a while, and these guys ain't missed a beat. The quarterback had everybody hoping and wishing that he dipped, and he's like, nope, we're running it back. I can feel the air leave from the green and gold, like, oh, man, here we go. I can feel the air. But again, they have a puncher's chance, which is why I say 9.7. But you want to go that low with your pick?
Yeah, because
okay.
Timothy must be like in my room as we record right now. Because I mean, they get them at home this year, Coach. I think that's a small advantage. Now they both return quarterbacks, but North Dakota State returns more on the offensive line. They return more in the front 7. So I do think there's going to be some advantages. They return more at running back. Now, we both love Amar. Like, I got you, but they didn't lose someone like, well, I mean, I guess they lost to Merrick, so I wouldn't even give them running back. You might be right. I'm going to have to bump it a little bit, like 8.5, because it's just they get them at home. Like, man, am I giving them too much benefit? It's just tough, man, when you got that target. It really is. To go on the road. Because, Coach, if there's one game, now I know everyone's saying they're going to get up for Colorado. If you had to point to one game on the schedule that you get at home, they're going to put everything into that South Dakota State game. Like that's their Super Bowl this year.
No doubt.
It
that's
really
circle.
is.
They have 2 games circled.
I don't think they feel
Colorado in that game. No,
yeah.
They have 2 games circled. Colorado and them. That's it.
They just lose so much. But I'm with you. The fact that Gronowski came back changed the whole conversation about South Dakota State. It really, really did. And then also, too, is Cam Miller finally going to be the guy that North Dakota State fans think he is? That's a major, major question for me. And then also, to the wide receivers, I'm going to keep it at 8.5, Coach. I'm going to keep it right there. I think that's where I'm going to set up. Like, not going to 9's tough when North Dakota State is going to be a really, really good team, especially if they beat Colorado and get that momentum and they come into that game undefeated. My good, like the Fargo Dome is going to be the place to be that weekend. But let's move on because we're already over our top. We still got a whole other topic.
We're never going to do a 30-minute show.
Never. SoCon coach Furman won the SoCon last year. I'll start this one. I got them at like a 4. They just lost so much.
Lost a lot of people.
They lost running back room. They lost offensive linemen. They lost wide receiver talent. Defensive line is going to be a rebuild. Linebacker is going to be a rebuild. Secondary is going to be a rebuild. They just got holes everywhere. Now, they've recruited well. They had a lot of good young talent. But also, too, the SoCon's so unpredictable. We talk about the Ivy League and the MEAC being unpredictable. SoCon's pure chaos. I think Chattanooga is a team I've kind of circled as the early dark horse in that conference. They got a lot of talent coming back. Western Carolina, even without Desmond Reed, they do return Cole Gonzalez. We know Kerwin Bell still runs that offense at the end of the day. They're going to put up points. Is that defense going to be there? Then also an honorable mention, ETSU with Trey Lamb and all that Gardner Webb playoff talent that he brought with him. He brought like 50 players with him. I think ETSU is going to be a sneaky team. I really, really do. So I don't think Furman's going to be an overwhelming favorite. I'll put that at like a 4.
Cole Gonzalez over everybody.
Ooh, I like it. So low number there.
I'm gonna leave it at
that. Low number for Furman for Coach. Coach Southland, Nicholls State, a 1.
Yeah, they back. I'll never say back in, but they snuck into that thing last year.
Yeah, I don't like the repeat chances. Now they're going to be good, but I think Incarnate Word runs away with this conference this year. They're going to be on a mission after last year. They return a whole lot of offensive talent. Now the sneaky one is Lamar. Lamar with the first year head coach, Coach Pete last year, man, they turned it up a notch. And if they return a whole lot of talent, now Lamar is going to be sneaky, but I think it's Incarnate Word and everyone else in this conference.
Incarnate Word did a great job in that portal world, as they always do. I think they kind of replace some people with some people. If they get it to jail, I think they are. So I'm definitely saying Nicholls is in that 2 range.
Yeah. SWAC, we got FAMU as the champ. Coach, what number are you putting on it?
I'm gonna give them a 4.
Higher than I thought.
Because
I'm
gonna give them a 4. They are defending. They have the longest home win streak going on. They lost an awful lot, from coaches to players to secretaries. They lost an awful lot. So I'm gonna give them that, and I think they have a very tough schedule away from home. So I could see that being an issue for them. So yeah,
I like it. I'm gonna go. Oh, that was a 4 is a good number. I didn't want to copy you, but I think 4 is a really, really good number for them. Just because I still think they're probably a top 3 team in that division, at least, and they're talented. I think obviously Bama State, Jackson are going to be problems in that division, especially because they have to go on the road to play both those teams. Tough road games, and Bama State.
So I say they got a real tough home schedule. I mean, away schedule. Yep.
Yeah, and Bama and Jackson both feel like they loaded up and have enough to make a run, and so I think those are going to be really, really tough games to win. I think on the other side, if you're looking for someone, I still think it's going to come down to Alcorn and PV.
Lawrence
Those would be
Q.
the only teams I think. Hey man, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you joining the membership, man. Shout out to Lawrence, man. Longtime supporter of the show. I think the only teams in the West, Coach, I like it, Alcorn and PV. I'll be honest with you. That's where I'll leave it. I don't know if Southern's ready to make a run. Not putting a lot of stock into Grambling right now, and let's just be honest, the other 2 teams in there, I'm not putting absolutely any stock into winning that division. So that's where I'll leave it there. Coach, the last one, UAC, Austin P won it last year. Scotty Walden off to UTEP. I'm gonna give him a 2. I don't think they're as bad as Gardner Webb losing, but I'm gonna give him a 2, and it's only because I'm super high on Tarleton State and Central Arkansas. I think those are going to be the 2 things making a run.
Tarleton. Yeah, Tarleton's got some playmakers, man, and I think Austin P lost a lot coach wise, not just a head coach. I think they lost a lot coach wise, and it's going to be tough to keep them off uh, to keep them off the beaten path. And it's I think it's Tarleton's to lose, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like Tarleton a lot.
Shout
The
out
coaches.
Paris.
Yeah, shout out to Paris, man. Definitely like him, become a member, subscribe, all that. I will say this is the first year of their transition coach that, well, I guess it's the end of their transition now. They can finally make a postseason appearance. Tarleton is the only team other than South Dakota State and North Dakota State to have a winning record every single year of their transition. They're flooding money into that program, building stadiums and locker rooms, and they got the resources, and it's
They
Texas.
got some dudes.
They
got some dudes.
they can they could be a really sneaky team this year. And I think Central Arkansas is just so loaded, coach. We talk about McElvain had a really good year last year. They returned Darius Hell and Shanderick Powlett running back, multiple offensive linemen. They returned arguably the best defensive player in the country in David Walker. Man, Central Arkansas is going to have so much talent all over the field. So I really like them. Last quickly, the last two topics, we'll briefly touch on this. We were asked about MEAC expansion. I really don't have any more update on it. Like I've said the whole time, coach, and then I'll toss it to you. I do think the MEAC is behind the scenes getting ready to expand. And I think the targets are one of those the Atlanta market regions, whether it's Clark Atlanta, whether it's Morehouse. Those are going to be the two that make the most sense with the MEAC up. I guess they're negotiating their upcoming TV deal. Those make sense to increase the marketability and the money you can ask for in a new TV deal. So that's where I kind of stand on it. I think they're going to try to expedite this process, and I wouldn't be surprised going into 2025 if the MEAC had a member or two on the way. And then, I don't know the whole backstory on Maryland Eastern Shore. Maybe, coach, when we open the call lines next episode, someone can call in, or I'll do some research before the next show. I don't know why they haven't made Maryland Eastern Shore invest in a football program, because it seems like that would solve a whole lot of problems if you can get one of your schools in your conference to invest in a football program. We see all these upstart football programs going around. Why isn't that program investing for a D1 football program? That's a whole nother conversation. But coach, any thoughts on MEAC expansion?
I think they should. I think they need to, just to stay relevant and move along with the way that college football is going. Because the way it's going now, it's booming. It's becoming big business, no doubt about it. I think they have to stay relevant within it. The market that you're talking about, I think if I had to guess, I would say Morehouse. Morehouse has the stadium capacity, so to speak. Clark right now only has one side, and I think they are kind of landlocked. If I can remember that setup, it's kind of landlocked to being able to go a visitor side to meet the seating requirements. But Morehouse kind of has that already. And plus, like I said, they have the tradition, so to speak. I think it would be an easy transition for them. The one that could be really scary for them to add would be a Tuskegee. Even though Tuskegee may make more sense to be in the SWAC side of things.
Yeah.
But I think the MEAC has to. And then that Maryland Eastern Shore deal, it's so much that comes along with it that I think it kind of scares people that have never dealt in the business of football, to be honest, because you look at all the numbers can be scary. You look at the budgets can be scary. And then if you sit and you look at television and you catch the wrong weekend in college football, the backstories can be scary. So why even deal with it? But it would make so much more sense if you have 4 basketball schools in your conference to help usher them along to bring football programs to their programs. It's only going to help your school. Your enrollment's going to go up. Your budgets, I know it looks crazy, but you're going to have the opportunity to balance it out. But yeah, I think they should. I think Morehouse right now will be the one, just because I think they would be plug and play.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am on that. Now, Lawrence said Bowie State, Virginia State, potentially. I could see that. I don't know if either one of
Hmm.
those programs are ready to invest at the D1 level, but I mean, that's not bad. And our guy, I have the Watcher, said that Art Shell tried to bring football back up there, and they pretty much shut it all down. I know
Huh.
there's been a push for some like upstart programs. Um, but they got voted no one. That's a whole nother conversation for another show. But I know like the University of New Orleans held a vote and the students voted for no football. Like the Southland wanted the University of New Orleans to launch a football program so they can bring them in the Southland. And the students like shut it completely down. So that's a whole nother conversation about the pros and cons of having football. Very interesting decision from the students because I mean, maybe it's just
That's
me
crazy.
being from like the state of Alabama. Like there would not be a school in Alabama who would shut down an opportunity to have a football program because it's so big here, especially college. It's a little bit of a unique concept for me. Same with like Florida, where you're from. I can't imagine
You
a
take
school in
what
Florida. Yeah, could you like this is crazy. Now
they started all
there.
these programs down here. I mean, Weber, Warner, uh, uh, my school down south, St. Thomas. I mean, Edwin Waters wasn't originally here.
You know,
JU wasn't originally here. So all those Ave Maria. I'm thinking about the one man that's down south. But anyway, all those are startup programs here within the last 10, 15 years. Um, Southeastern in Lakeland, Florida, Division two,
you
startup program, less than maybe 10 years old. So yeah, I'm like you. I mean, the opportunity to do it in one of the states, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, I think, that wouldn't be a second thought. Like, what we waiting on? That kind of deal.
yeah, and Mr. Campbell. I mean, I know he's joking, but not really joking. A lot of those students are LSU fans.
I get
And
it. Stetson,
they don't
yeah.
want yeah, Stetson was one of the ones I was thinking of. Now that's the big challenge with some of like these smaller schools in the state. If you want to say is, obviously if you're like a P4 program, you're going to have the support of your students. Like there aren't students leaving Florida State to go to other games or, Miami students going to another game in the same state. But if you're Southeastern Louisiana, like, bro, your student base might be going to Baton Rouge
All right, no doubt.
over the
Uh,
game and same for some school like Sanford students could be going to the Alabama or Auburn game and vice versa. So it's it's kind of tough. And yeah,
Florida
like I
Memorial,
said,
that was a school.
yeah.
Florida, not to
And
cut you off. I saw somebody put it, Florida
yeah,
Memorial
West Florida's a
and
good
West
one.
Florida,
Black
up your way.
Now West Florida needs to make the jump. And I've been calling for that for a while now.
They
Like,
hit the ground running, man. Nah, let them
yeah.
stay where they at.
Well, no, I'm just saying like they would be such a massive like if they're
Nah, they
investing in
really
their
do need to
program. Yeah, aren't they built like up? I don't know if they're building a new one, but I think they're
upgrading the
upgrading their
stadium. No, they're
stadium.
upgrading the
Yeah,
stadium. Yeah,
and
upgrading the
so
stadium.
if West Georgia can make the jump, you can't tell me that West Florida can't make the jump.
Absolutely beautiful campus.
Yes. Oh, it's
Absolutely beautiful campus.
yeah. And Mr. Campbell, Kennesaw State is the perfect example. They got like 30,000 students. They're all Georgia fans. Every single student on Kennesaw State's campus is a Georgia fan. I'm with you, Mr. Campbell. Like, listen, I've been around some people who are from that area. Nobody roots for Kennesaw State. Everybody is a Georgia fan around that area. Maybe the occasional Georgia Tech fan, but no one's a Kennesaw State fan, which is why I don't know if they're going to be super invested in in
Why
that
would they
move. But
do that, man?
I,
I know why they
I
did it. It's a money move, but why would you do that?
po-
I mean, I
possibly
don't
not
get
though.
it.
It might not be a money move at the end of the day. Like, I mean, I'll have to see the finances because listen, like the Sam Houston States, the Jacksonville States, the Kennesaw's all just jumped. I need to see like the 3-4 year projections of like how much more are they really bringing in. If it's not significant, was it a good move?
Right.
Really and truly, like, was it a good move? Because we talked about the draft. What was it? 2 episodes ago, maybe 3 episodes ago. If you're still not getting any kids drafted, and you're
What we
not
doing?
making any more money. What's the
What
perception?
what we doing?
I
What are we doing? And
but
PV is not winning the swag, but
shout out to my
uh,
guy, PV versus everybody, man. Great channel, man. Make sure to go subscribe to all what they're doing, man. My guy is doing his thing over there. Coach, the last thing I wanted to hit on real quick, and we are way over time. So I mean, listen, I just have to make this our weekly hour show, but I don't know how we're going to do that even. But there was a former FCS player who hit the portal. Travion Hobbs, no problem saying his name because he put the tweet out there publicly, so we could talk about it publicly. Coach, he tweeted yesterday afternoon, and this tweet's been viewed almost 500,000 times and has went viral on social
yay!
media. He tweeted, "I know my worth," and then in all caps said, "I'm an FBS caliber player. I appreciate all the FCS schools that have reached out," and left it at that.
How much time you got, buddy? How much time
Hey,
you got?
hey, we're over the
I'm,
limit.
I'm getting I'm
Let's
getting
go.
on this soapbox. How much
Yeah.
time you got?
Hey,
Nah, I
let's go.
can't do that. I don't want
We
to
got,
get on the subject. I don't want to get on the soapbox because I was in a school today, and it was a coach in there from Auburn, and myself, uh, a coach from South Florida, and it was one other coach who was a shout out to the coach. He was a D2 coach, and the guy from Auburn, and they were speaking about a player that had hit the portal from this high school we were at for the third time. And the coach was trying to tell us that, no one should be mad at the kid because he's a grad transfer now. He has his degree. And as we tried to explain to him, yeah, he has his degree. That is the main thing. That is the bottom line. But it took hours from 3 different places to get it, and we still going somewhere else. What are we looking for? At the end of the day, what are we looking for? And when I hear this tweet, it's just like, okay, Kat, I mean, you feel how you feel, no doubt about it. Me and Zach should be on ESPN every morning. We aren't right now. But if they aren't calling me and Zach, we still got to do what we got to do. I mean, if we want to do it, right? So you're
yep.
saying that you are this guy. If you're not getting this guy calls, where are you? What are you looking for? What are you doing? And to spin back to the story, this kid has made uh, over allegedly over $200,000 in NIL money, and we still don't know where we want to go to school for our final year of college. What are we doing? Who's advising these people? Who's in your circle? You know, great, you got your degree, no doubt about it. But what are you looking for? And nobody can answer that question. I know my work. Put an amount on your work. Put an amount on your work so I know. Oh, I'm SEC worthy. SEC teams calling you? I'm ACC worthy. What up? How many of them have offered you? Because here's the thing. You could say that all you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not getting those calls, I mean, hey, I don't know what that degree in, but get ready to put those work boots on because you are shutting the door on opportunities that you say you want, that you say you're worth. Hey, I know I'm ESPN talent. ESPN don't know it right now. So guess what? We're gonna rock out on this Bluebloods and we're gonna get down and we're gonna have fun. We're gonna tell people we're gonna do a 30-minute show and it's gonna go an hour. But we're gonna continue to do what we do. You can't just shut it down. And when you said that in that tweet, and then go back to this story, and this high school coach is like, well, I get it, but wow, I never looked at it that way. Dude, he's got hours from 3 different schools and finna add some more hours. Which homecoming will he attend? Which alumni chapter is he going to pay money to? Interesting question. So it's one of those deals of where, I think kids are hearing and they're looking at a lot of the outside noise. and they are never compare yourself to what is going on in the outside. And that's what they're all doing. Oh, I know I'm better than I do. My highlight tape is 10 minutes. His highlight tape was 8. I know I'm better than him. You can't compare because it's a deal of where people are looking for different things. And you hit the portal at the wrong time, as he's done. What we got? Let me get off the soapbox, man.
No, you're good. People in the chat were begging you to talk about this. They said it's a really we probably should have made this one of the top 3 topics. I knew it was gonna be a legit
Y'all lucky this ain't a lounge conversation.
Yeah. I will say this. He's a Florida kid too, so not making y'all look
different.
Really
We're different.
Right now.
We're different. That's why I spoke on it. We're different because I know what he's hearing. I know what he's hearing. Man, what you entertaining fam for? Why are you listening to USF? Man, Florida ain't calling you. Florida State ain't calling you. Miami? Man, they tripping. I know the talk.
It's just tough because, Coach, we talked, what was it, before last year, that there were All-American, All-Conference players at the FCS level that were still sitting in the portal in May.
To this day.
This guy has not been in All-Conference selection, 0 All-American selections, and has not played a game with over 10, has not played a season with over 10 games in it, according to the Brown website.
Bro, it's May 6th.
He's been in the portal since last year. Like, if I'm not mistaken, he entered mid-season last year. And so he's been in the portal since 2023. His only FBS offer that he's posted, now, is it committable? I don't know, was Arkansas State. If you feel like you're FBS worthy, why didn't you commit to Arkansas State then?
And go rip it up. Now I got this edge. Again, man, if I'm a kid coming out now, hell, I won't. If Utah ain't recruiting me, I don't want to hear none of y'all saying. I'm going to Utah. I'm going to get that car and I'm going to get that bag. So I know what they're thinking. But my thing is, if Utah is not calling you, Fred, you better hurry up and do what you need to do, or you're going to be sitting here trying to figure out how to get your barbering license or your CDLs, because this thing closes and it dries up. There's over 3,000 kids right now in the portal. And I would be willing to bet a month's salary that at least 1,500 of them have gotten bad advice on what to do. And then the other half jumped in without a plan. All about it, man. If you feel that place is not right for you, A, if you've been mistreated, B, or if you've been told to leave, C, by all means, do what you have to do. But you need to have a plan. If Blue calls me into his office and says, hey, man, you need to hit the portal, he can't make me leave. And I'm not leaving without a plan, because I signed here and everybody understand that it's a year-to-year deal, no doubt. But I'm not putting that letter, that long tweet out. Thank you, Bluebloods University, for all you've done. With that being said, I'm hitting the portal. No, man, Coach Zach called me in his office. He told me I need to leave. I'm looking for a home. Schools get at me. You got to have a plan. But you jump in blind and you make it look like that, we're bag searching. Because at the end of the day, I hate to say it, I guarantee you over 95% of those kids hit the portal with thoughts of NIL in their mind. And that's not a good thing. And I'll get off that soapbox before I turn it to Coach JB.
You're good, man. People love to hear stuff. It's a conversation that needs to be had, because now there's nothing wrong with self-belief. I want to put that out there, because a lot of people were pissed that his tweet went viral and people were saying not to post. They're like, man, they're just trying to keep you down and they don't believe in you, man. It's like, self-belief is one thing, but if you're already in the portal for an extended amount of time, you've missed winter workouts, You've missed spring now. Bro, if you believe you're an FBS talent, then commit somewhere and prove that you're an FBS talent. But you're not, your offers at this point, especially as a transfer, are one, shrinking, but also two, if you're not getting FBS offers,
I
guess
should tell
what?
you something.
It should tell you that you're probably not an FBS talent at this point.
I should tell you something.
Because, Coach, how many players from the FCS have we seen go Power 5 or Power 4? Go to the FBS. Guess what?
Division two.
Just
we won't say
crazy.
what kid, and we won't say from where, but there's a Division two kid that me and you talked about personally. That all of a sudden he's not even at a good Division two, and he jumps out there and what? This kid's committed to what SEC school? And again, and we're sitting there in that high school coach's deal, and we're trying to explain to him from Auburn to Alcorn to USF to a Division two. Hey man, this is how you need to be advising your guys. Now, if you've got guys that have left your program, went on to other schools, and they hit the portal and they come back asking you for help to be recruited, that should tell you something. Because you have a whole nother batch of seniors that you really need to be promoting, not the kids that are on somebody's campus that decided they wanted to leave. And the kids that you're bringing up in their senior year, this one particular school has kids that have 20 offers. Coach, I'm just telling you, from Auburn to Alcorn to this Division two, your kid needs to make a decision by this summer. Because if he plays this offer game and he waits till that first portal thing opens up, and then he's not graduating in December, Coach, he's not going to have an offer. I mean, that's just the way it is right now, and I hate it. I mean, it is what it is, but for us, we got to re-recruit our kids to keep our kids from going to Monroe. Plus recruit kids to come in and replace the kids that now want to prove that they can play at Louisiana Monroe. Nothing against Monroe, but it's what they deem, I got to show that I can play at the next level. Bro, your PFF grade versus those schools, it ain't that big. It's so much that goes into this that I don't think people really understand. And we can do it for another show because I look at the counter and we're over what we said we were going to do.
Double.
You know what I mean? It's, and I hate dealing in it, but the analytics start to show up. PFF is real. That is being used in a lot of this stuff. And then there's also this thing called timing. The portal opened early. It closed. It opened again late. And then you had guys that wanted to go through spring ball where they were. And at the end of that session, decided they wanted to do the portal. The portal had already been open for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So all the backdoor and underhand deals or whatever have been done. And you jump out there blind with a week left before the portal closes. Now you're stuck, especially if you're not a grad transfer. Now you're stuck. And now you're hoping and wishing that somebody's got a couple that they left in their back pocket that they can get a couple guys. But you got to understand, it's 3,500 of y'all in this portal. And y'all are all wanting the same thing. How many people got it? Man, let me get off this thing, man. I got a cigar to smoke, man. Let me get off this thing.
Hey, man, that's a fact. But, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Listen, second mailbag of the all season. Listen, if you have questions for later this week, we'll be back Thursday or Friday this week with another mailbag. Put them in the chat right now, live chat, or comment them underneath this video if you're watching the replay. And make sure to follow us on social media, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff, man. But for myself, for Coach Fred, for the Bluebloods, FCS Football Central, man, we are out for right now.